Hello and welcome to Anam Cara's first videocast. My name is Monica McCormack. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And I'm with my fellow hosts, Karen Montgomery and Asa Grace Morton. We'll be coming to you each week to talk about upcoming events at Anam Cara and how you can participate in our community to enrich and enliven your lives. So let's begin by talking about Anam Cara. Anam Cara is an intentional community where kindred spirits can gather together in a safe space to share our wisdom, our creativity, our gifts and talents, where we can explore ideas together, walk the labyrinth together, and celebrate the cycles of the earth and the moon. Also where we can ask hard questions and seek the answers together. All are welcome. It doesn't matter who you are, what your sexual identity is, what your gender identity is. You can be cis, trans, non-binary, fluid. It doesn't matter your race or religion, your political affiliation. It doesn't matter the color of your skin or how old you are. You are welcome here. Anam Cara means soul friend in Gaelic, and that's what we are. We are soul friends who are connected together in this beautiful, diverse web of creation. Today we are looking at animal spirit guides. Karen, would you like to start us off?
I'd love to, thank you. So, ever since I've been a little girl, I have just been fascinated by any type of animal. I grew up near the seaside in Florida, and I would just, as a little girl, chase those little sandpipers along the shore. I would play with them. I would listen to the gulls talk to each other. I would notice that, the salamanders change color when they had emotions too. It was fascinating to me. So as I became older and my adventures took me in the woods more, and I would listen to the birds in the trees, I would discover, the squirrels and the foxes running through the woods. I became interested through my art in drawing them, trying to record their sounds and blend it with the music that I liked. And then when I realized that there seemed to be some communication to me, and I didn't understand that. So I tuned in one day to this blue heron in a canal, standing along the road we were driving along on one leg. How did that blue heron balance with the curved neck and just standing there forever staring at the water? I just became fascinated with learning more about the heron, and when I discovered that it meant patience, it symbolizes introspection and watchfulness, and that the heron is unlike any other bird. It is somewhat of a connection with the divine, with its long neck and the way it flies so gracefully through the air. I realized, my goodness, that blue heron, I feel a lot like the blue heron. And when I started to do some art around it, I realized, my goodness, there is a way to meditate on that spirit and discover more about myself through that. And then it just became natural for me to start listening to other animals, meditate on any animal that may come to me at the moment. I would see that little salamander, or I would see a ladybug. I would discover and try to figure out what happened before the internet here, and then now we can look it up. Now we have books, and it's just fascinating to me. So I've been working with collaging them, photographing them, blending that all together, and sharing what I love with others.
Great. How about you, Asa?
I had my first encounter with the animal spirit at a workshop that Karen Montgomery was given in 2017. And she is the master imagery guiderist person And she relaxed us and took us from the city to the country, paddled a boat across a lake, and sitting on the beach, listening to sights and sounds. Behind me is a forest, and she's taking us deeper into the sensory experience. And then she said, now notice, you're being approached. And I became aware. You can hear the rustling of the leaves behind you. Pay attention. And I began to be aware that I was being approached by a white wolf. And she was crawling, she was coming up behind me very slowly, letting me know she didn't want to hurt me, but also in a crouch that said, if you're going to hurt me, I'm out of here. She wasn't taking any chances. And then Karen guided us to interact with this animal that approached us, and I began to touch it and vocalize with it. And then she said, now become that animal. And I literally was able to feel what it would be like to tussle and wrestle and posture with that wolf. And it was the most amazing, life-changing experience for me.
Can you share an example of how animal medicine has helped you in your life?
Yes. So prior to that workshop, I didn't notice animals. Karen gave us an assignment, pay attention, we can talk about animal messages. I was desperate to see anything that wasn't a cat, a squirrel, or a bird. I live in Richmond, I work at home, I don't get out much, and prior to that workshop, nothing. After that workshop, there was an opening, and I was getting messages all the time, every day, both alive and not alive. And I would came home to a bee trapped in my side porch, and I captured her and released her and watched her fly away with purpose. I won't go into all the stories. I got befriended by a catbird, and I created a bird sanctuary in my backyard, and it was so much fun. And we've enjoyed hours of sitting out there with the birds eating out of our feeders. So when I have an encounter, I go and I look it up, and I see what it means, and I check the internet, and then I begin to write what the messages are from that animal. And I create something substantial with images, and then I have that to keep me in that place.
That's beautiful.
Thanks.
And how do you honor the gray heron in your life?
I have come across the most beautiful quote about a great blue heron that has guided me throughout my wish to share about her or about animal spirit guides in general. This is by Nadja Brown, and she says, "Creativity is the blue heron within us, waiting to fly. Through her imagination, all things become possible." So how is I going to help this become possible for others? There are so many small, even just one message from an animal may be all we need in the moment if we can just be calm, be in the moment, and imagine we're that animal. Like you said in the workshop, we can understand part of ourselves that way. One of my first encounters, other than the blue heron, was when I had been visiting a very good friend in Maine. I had just moved to Richmond. I came back and went to a drumming workshop, and the shaman had us go through a guided visualization, who in fact taught me that meditation that you just spoke of. And so that was where I went into this meditation with the idea of a heron in mind. I thought, I'm going to meet a heron. How am I going to meet a heron in the woods? Well, while I was in Maine, let me back up a second. So we did our little visualization, and a moose came to me, and I'm thinking, I've never seen a moose. I don't hopefully look like a moose. Long story short, when we shared at the end, someone said, Well, you did say something about wanting to become vegetarian, right? And I said, yeah, I need to make a big change in my life. I'm just not. He said, do you know moose are vegetarians? And I had been looking in Maine for moose a whole time I'd been visiting, and there one came to me in my meditation. Another time, very shortly after that, in a visualization, I thought, well, it's going to be the moose or the heron. And lo and behold, a dragonfly came to me in that meditation. So it's not always the same one. This dragonfly, the primary symbolism of a dragonfly is illusion. And at the time I was challenged by a very close breakup, and do I not go forward with that? And when I investigated the history of dragonflies in my life, again back to when I was a youngster, there she was guiding me through that whole thing and the symbolism there. They come from the unknown. They come because we need them. They come as angels. They are spirits of the divine for sure, these different animals, be they wing, foot, fin. They're fantastic.
Yeah, in my shamanic training, we were taught that animal totems come to help you on your path. And some can be with you for a long time, depending on what you need to learn, and others come, as you said, just quickly for a message specific to that moment. And for me, I remember going through a divorce and being out on my own with my daughter and a single mom again for the first time, and seeing a fox run across the street in the neighborhood in the middle of the day, and I'd never seen a fox in America before. And I stopped because I was trained to pay attention to an animal that would come out of the ordinary, something you're not used to seeing in a situation you're not used to seeing them in. So that fox caught my attention, and then I started smelling fox. And so I researched fox, and fox teaches you how to hold your cards close to your chest. A lot of people think fox is sly and cunning, but it's not a bad thing. Cunning can be careful, protect yourself, learn how to blend, learn how to stay camouflaged. And I was way too out there. I was sharing way too much of what I needed and wanted through the divorce proceedings. I was too vulnerable, and I needed to rein it back in and not be telling people what I needed and wanted, especially my ex at the time. So fox really has come to me many, many times when I need to learn how to blend. And then there was a time we were in Washington State, and we had just done a ceremony, and we were told to wrap ourselves in our spirit blankets and be quiet. And I sat down, all I could smell was this skunk. It stunk so bad I couldn't concentrate. And nobody else seemed to be complaining about it. And afterwards we gathered for breakfast, and we were sharing our experiences, and I said, that was so wonderful except for the smell of the skunk. And everybody said, what skunk? And the shaman said, that was a message directly for you. What does skunk mean? So I researched. Skunk means you can be feminine, you can be gentle, you don't have to be that strong warrior, in your face kind of a person, which I tended to be more of. And I learned how to connect to my gentle feminine self and still be able to feel like I could protect myself.
Beautiful.
So
I'm glad you shared that story, Monica, because I pulled a card for a spider, and sometimes you pull cards and you're going, ew, I don't want this animal, but they're all wonderful, and they have, when we get to know them and understand them, they have these underlying meanings. And so I became fascinated doing research and how they are, they weave webs, and that's how we are creating our life. And so what we put our energy into it is what we're creating, and that's what the spider does. And the sensitivity to the web. And I'm very sensitive. I mean, I know when stuff is going on with people, and I call them that day. And they're like, oh, I'm so glad you called, blah, blah, blah. So I have that sensitivity. And then one day I saw a video, a YouTube video of of spiny orb web weaver building her nest, and they make these huge, perfect, symmetrical webs. And she had her frame all done, and she was climbing up and putting a piece of silk down, and then she'd climb back down and climb over and climb back up. She touched the last place she had that piece of row, and then she'd lay down that thing, and then she'd start weaving again from there, and she'd go across, and she'd reach up and touch, and I was fascinated, and I was like, oh my goddess, I am such a spider. I love doing things in a very systematic way. My brain is just drawn to it, and I feel that sensitivity. So now I love spiders, and now I set them free instead of the other thing that you do to spiders. And that's what animal energy does, and it puts me in that place where I notice.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I remember that there's more going on than my everyday busy organized way. And it makes me stop, meditate, slow down, and pay attention to the more that is going on.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned cards. I too use animal cards sometimes, meditation cards, that, be it pulling one, just sometimes in our busy days also, there would be, I like the cards because you don't have to meditate for long, because what you can do, what I've done, is I'll shuffle them, take one card, look at it. I may not know the energy of that animal, but I take the card with me, and then I can carry it through the day, understand the wisdom of that animal spirit when I have time. But it always helps ground me that day.
Yep.
It's lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just set a card on my desk.
Right.
So I'm busy, but then I look at the card and it reminds me to just slow down and let the web vibrate so I can get my messages.
Right.
And I'm not too busy thinking.
This has been a wonderful conversation.
It has been.
And it's just an example of what we're going to do at our next gathering on Earth Day, which is April 22nd. We're going to do animal exploration. And, when we'll explore what animal guides are coming to us and what their messages are. So thank you very much, ladies.
It's going to be great.
Looking forward
Thank
to
you.
it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now let's talk about upcoming events at Anam Cara. On April 22nd, Friday, which is Earth Day, at the farmhouse in Goochland, we will gather from 6 to 9 p.m. to do animal spirit exploration. We will be using imagery, symbolism, and collage art. On May 21st at the farmhouse in Goochland from 3 to 6 p.m., Steve Weiss will lead us in a Lakota pipe ceremony. Now we are interviewing Steve in our next video cast, and he will talk about his training, what it is to be a Lakota pipe carrier, and what the pipe ceremony will be all about. On June 21st is the summer solstice, and we will be gathering in the evening to walk the labyrinth. We are building a triple spiral Celtic fire labyrinth called Cushan Cune, which in Gaelic is Tranquil Path. And we will walk the labyrinth together and join in ceremony to honor the longest day of the year. The best way to reach us is through our email, anamcaracollective13@gmail.com. The email will be on your screen. When you email us, let us know that you would like to be put on our newsletter, and then you will receive all the upcoming events. Also, you will have the address to the farmhouse and all the other information that you need. So it has been lovely talking with you ladies this morning. Sláinte.
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 To your health. Goodbye and be well.